It's a wonderful day in the homiehood, a wonderful day for a homie. Won't you be my homie to Taro? Today is February the 7th, which is a Tuesday. Oh my goodness, time is just flying by. We are going to hit you with the news this morning, or like I said, whenever you're listening. It might even be the very next day, but either way, we definitely appreciate you being here. So there's lots of news, and very quickly, we're just going to go over a couple headlines that caught our eye this morning. Please don't forget to like the video and share the video. Any day could be the day that we go viral, and we really appreciate any help you can for our channel. So one thing that is going on, and might be a bit alarming to certain people, is that CBC is signaling to plan uh, a plan to go full streaming, which is to say that they're ending traditional TV and radio broadcasts. Now, don't be too alarmed because this is not something that's happening anytime soon, but maybe something that might happen over the next decade or so. So, like, as we know, obviously, a lot of people are getting their news online, or, just engaging with this content from our public broadcaster online. Is saying that for television, 55 plus or 65 plus is the main demographic that people are engaging with that type of content. So, and also during the pandemic, a lot of people transitioned to the subscription service based news sources. So they are planning a transition. We don't know when exactly it's going to happen, or if it's going to happen. One thing holding them back is that in order for this to be a reality, they need everyone to be able to access broadband internet. So, but we're essentially kind of going to have to wait for that to happen first. Also, they are saying, that they've come under criticism as of lately from people, conservatives like Pierre Poilievre, who say that we need to defund the CBC and all of that. Personally, that's definitely not my stance. I think the public broadcaster does a lot of good, and they also create a lot of cultural capital, which is worth it. CBC is saying, hey, they've basically been running on the same business model for the past 30 years with the same amount of funding, but they've also tripled the amount of services that they offer, not just offering radio and television, but also making sure that those segments get to the internet and can be listened to live in some cases on the internet. And they've also have all of their drama and Family Feud Canada and whatever, to which, I think the cultural capital that CBC creates is one of the best things about it. But that is also something that a lot of like conservatives will put under a microscope and say, wow, why are we paying billions of dollars for this? The truth is, we've been paying the same amount for the past 30 years. So if they are going to offer more services as they have, maybe they deserve more money. And for me, it's one thing that I don't really mind my tax dollars going towards. Now, the big news that everyone is talking about is the Turkey Syrian earthquake that happened, I believe, just yesterday or the day before. So it was actually two earthquakes, a 7.8 magnitude earthquake that hit Turkey and Syria. Canada is trying to figure out what relief efforts that they can help provide. So far, 3,400 people have been killed by this disaster, and really, it's really sad. So that initial 7.8 magnitude earthquake was felt. It was followed by an aftershock, um, as well as a 7.5 magnitude quake hours later. So honestly, it's really just sad. There's a lot of pictures, a lot of sad images coming out of this. There's not much I can really say. I don't think. Obviously, disasters like this are horrible, and my heart goes out to the people of Turkey and Syria and everyone who has loved ones involved with this crisis. It's honestly just really sad. So if it's within your means, I think you know I'm planning to donate and trying to figure out the best way to donate. Apparently, there are a lot of like fake organizations out there that are not directing the funds properly. So please like make sure you do a bit of due diligence if you're going to donate. Um, One thing too that we can just acknowledge is just like some pictures. I don't think, again, there's not much that I can add, but just by, I think, looking at some of the pictures, it is a great way to like understand uh how horrible the situation is there, and be empathetic to the human crisis that these people are going through right now. Like, we can only imagine what our own lives would be like in a disaster like this, and it's just so sad. And we hope that, obviously, as many people are rescued as possible, and hopefully this is can be an instance where the world comes together to offer aid to those people who need it. Of course, there is also going to be some geopolitical uh politics happening. I know that Russia and Israel have offered aid to Syria. Um, and there's always going to be some of that. But I think the important thing is to just like, this is a human crisis, and there is, even if it's $20, like you don't that could be something that goes a long way, um, when we're all contributing to these people in crisis. So please keep Turkey in your thoughts. Moving on, Google is laying off a bunch of people in Canada, or at least they're beginning to. Now, this is the parent company of Google called Alphabet. They have done massive layoffs in the U.S. so far, I believe. Some of which I heard were actually quite like unethical, laying off people who are on maternity leave, or who are working from like out of the country, or I forget what it's called in the US, but essentially they're there on like a worker's permit. So now that they've been laid off, I think they only have like 3 months to find a new job. The tech sector is really like taking a hard hit, and they've laid off 12,000 workers worldwide, and I think it's expected that a bunch of those are going to be in Canada. 2,500 staffers in Canada. I think I read that maybe um was it 1,500? I'm not sure on the number that is going to get laid off, but it is going to be significant, and it is unfortunate. Like, these are, again, companies that have the money, they're making tons of money, um, and they expanded during the pandemic, kind of bragging about how quickly they were expanding. And then now that the economy has slowed and inflation has grown, and supply chains and whatever, the economy's bad. They're laying off all these folks. So it's just really unfortunate. I think it kind of emphasizes the importance of unionization, even in sectors like the tech sector, where people get paid very well and they feel very secure, and they get even like stock. So it seems like so I think there tends to be a culture like, oh, the company's treating us so well, why would we have to unionize against them? Well, I guess this is why, because they can't be trusted. And it's really important to use your power as workers to protect yourselves. And it might not protect everyone when they're laying off 12,000 people, but it does mean in these events you're going to get more compensation, or there's going to be less layoffs, or maybe there's even a class action lawsuit if they've done something like against the rules of the union. So again, workers of the world, we should be uniting. Speaking of other business woes, confidence is at an all-time low, according to the Ontario Chamber of Commerce. So a lot of businesses are just uncertain about what their ability to continue throughout the next year. I think the number here, oh yeah, 16% of Ontario businesses say they have confidence in the year ahead. So that means the other, what is it, 84% do not really have confidence. And, that is kind of an unfortunate turn of the economy. And it I think a lot of things are just brought into uncertainty right now. And one thing that surprisingly they cite in this article is that our crumbling healthcare system is something that is a major point of concern for businesses, because like if you are a worker and you have a medical emergency, and that medical emergency cannot be met, well, your ability to work is going to be compromised, and your employer's ability to run their business will also be compromised. So this is kind of the result, I think, of all these compounding issues. And I guess it is interesting to see how it affects the money class. It's like there is literally an incentive for everyone, including wealthy business owners, to fix the problems that we are facing in society, because more certainty for everyone means more certainty for rich people to make their money as quickly and efficiently and probably as exploitatively as possible. So, just something to watch. Again, I sometimes like skim the business section because you can kind of figure out what's going on in the mind of the bourgeoisie. So it's fun to keep an eye on what they're thinking of. Um, so in other healthcare news, Trudeau is to offer more than $100 billion in healthcare funding over 10 years. So I think the announcement here is pretty similar to what we were hearing. I think we were hearing 38 billion ish in funding over 5 years, and now we're hearing 100 billion in 10 years. I wonder if this was like part of their plan, um, because it's like, hey, we'll start low and we'll work our way up, and it'll make it sound like we're doing more. So thank you so much, Pixels, for telling me to hydrate and check my posture and take my vitamin D. I will definitely do that after this segment. Um, so I wonder if it was part of the liberal plan to like start low, even though it sounded high to begin with, and now they're getting higher and higher. So this is part of the Canada Health Transfer, $100 billion going to the provinces. Apparently, there's going to be a significant focus on Ontario, which is, I suppose, great, because that's where we live. And that's where the majority of Canadians live, probably Quebec as well. And it's not just that we live here and need the healthcare, but also I think Justin Trudeau is positioning himself for the next election. This is what he is going to essentially try to do to win back the hearts of Canadians and get some votes as he positions himself to defeat Pierre Poilievre in the next election. Will it work? We don't really know. It could be too little too late, because the healthcare system has already kind of crumbled. By the time we see the effects of this $10 billion, um, we it might be too late. It might be too late for Justin Trudeau. So, speaking of which, Ontario is expanding private clinics while hospital operating rooms sit idle, healthcare advocates say. So, again, part of the concern with this apparently $100 billion that is coming to the provinces is that it'll be used for measures like this and not actually used appropriately. This is part of the privatization of Ontario's healthcare system. Experts are saying that, you know what? A lot of these operating rooms are not running at full capacity. They only operate until 3 p.m. in a lot of cases. They only operate during the week. They're reserved for evenings and weekends for emergencies. And the major problem is not that these spaces don't exist, but it's that the staff to keep these spaces running 24 hours a day or at full capacity, they are not being funded, and those staffing shortages are making it hard for people to get the surgeries that they need, right? So it's a very interesting dynamic because, of course, Sylvia Jones and Doug Ford, they're saying, well, we're opening all these new private clinics, which is going to help reduce the wait times, but also we could just be using that money to staff the existing operating rooms and make sure that they're running on weekends or running till 6 o'clock or running until during the evening, right? And sure, you might not want to be a surgeon who works on the weekends, but these are definitely ways that we could be using our public resources more efficiently, and there's really no reason that we shouldn't. Instead, we're creating like a duplicate operating room that's running during the exact same hours as the other operating room, and it's also pulling staff away, because the alluring private sector is probably going to pay more and have better hours and yada yada yada. So it's nice to see that at the very least some people who know what they're talking about are holding Sylvia Jones and Doug Ford's feet to the fire. Meanwhile, in the UK, nurses, ambulance crews are striking, and this is something that is, of course, straining the healthcare system. And it's important, obviously, for workers to be standing up for themselves and taking a large labor action like this. So, as much as I'm sure it hurts to see that this is hurting people right now because they might be having a harder time accessing healthcare, it's important, and it's honestly what I wish would kind of happen here in Ontario, because I think nurses are by nature very like caring, empathetic people, and they're probably not going to abandon their patients and what they probably feel is their duty in order to fight this Ford government. I know they are gearing up for negotiations right now, but I don't think there's any possibility of a strike in this current climate. So it's great to see that at least somewhere in the world workers are standing up for themselves, and I wish we were doing something similar here in Ontario to fight not only for better wages, but against this move towards privatization, which is at the end of the day going to hurt all of us. So, lastly, for today, this is a story coming out of Hong Kong. It's a story I used to follow quite closely and even wrote a song about once at about like 4 years ago now. But Hong Kong 47 national security trial gets underway in a case that silenced the city's opposition. So this is kind of the aftermath of the umbrella movement, and which then became the more official League of Social Democrats, um, who were essentially opposing China's uh, China's authoritarian measures they were taking over Hong Kong. So this trial against 47 opposition figures is beginning, and they are, of course, like fighting for pro democracy, fighting for Hong Kong's independence, fighting for China to like back off. You know, they've done a lot of like pretty horrible things to the people of Hong Kong who uh during the transfer of power from Britain to China, and it really is just about the independence of Hong Kong, you know. So notably, one of the leaders of the Umbrella Movement, Joshua Wong, is part of these 47 people and some other notable figures. So we are hoping, although we're not very confident, that the 47 essentially freedom fighters are able to at least continue to be free, and they're not going to be political prisoners um, for opposing the state of China. There are other cases going on, including a case against Stan News and a case against the Apple Daily, which were two opposition publications which were printing things that were not very nice, and rightly so, criticizing China. So it's crazy because I feel like we have a very different type of freedom movement here in Canada, where people are fighting the democratically elected leader. But here in Hong Kong, they are truly fighting for their democracy, and I hope that in some way that we in Canada can support their independence. All right, so that is the news for today. I'm going to check my posture and take a vitamin D as per chat's recommendation. Again, if you've made it this far to the end of the video, we always appreciate a like and a subscribe. Please comment on your favorite story if you had one, or anything you want us to cover on tomorrow's news. And that's it for my homie Tutaro on this day, February 7th, which is a Tuesday. We hope you have a great, wonderful rest of the day, and keep on rocking in the free world.